Chess was invented more than 1500 years ago, and just like any game, perhaps it's time for an update. Chess is a game that's played all over the world. Anyone can compete to become the world champion. The game has broken all barriers throughout history and is considered a benchmark for intelligence in many circles. Before getting to the update, I will briefly explain current chess rules. Each player has a king and a queen, 8 pawns, 2 bishops, 2 rooks, and 2 knights. Each piece moves in a particular way. Knights, for example, jump between squares in an L shape. White plays first, and the goal is to checkmate the opponent's king, meaning to attack a leave it no escape squares. I've left out some details to keep this short, but I will explain any when necessary. First, let's talk about en passant. This is when an opponent's pawn jumps 2 squares forward from its starting position and lands next to your pawn. You can then capture it as if it had only moved 1 square, but only immediately on the next turn. Miss that chance and it's gone forever. This rule looks weird and is often memed. Many players, even experienced ones, are bothered by it because it complicates calculations and it's easy to forget. Next is stalemate. This happens when a player has no legal moves but their king isn't in check. Stalemate counts as a draw, which is why many players keep playing even when they're way behind in material, because no matter how experienced, no one is immune to accidentally stalemating the opponent instead of checkmating them. Many elite players argue that stalemate should count as a win for the player who still has legal moves, and I think they make a solid point. If a player can't move, then they have lost. It makes no sense to call it a draw, especially when the other player clearly has much more material, or they happen to have a winning position. Next is pawn promotion. When a pawn reaches the opposite end of the board, it must be promoted to any piece except for a king. But here's the thing, it can't stay a pawn. The rules force you to promote it. There is an old game I can't really remember where a player wanted to keep his pawn as a pawn because promoting it would risk a stalemate, but the rules don't allow this. I think players should have the choice. After all, it's their piece, and they should decide whether to promote it or not, especially if promoting hurts their winning chances. Last but not least, let's talk about opening theory. This refers to memorized sequences of moves, especially in the first 15 moves of the game. Since it takes hours or even days to calculate certain lines, modern players just memorize thousands of variations and play them from memory. Leaving theory too early can be dangerous because your opponent might know something you don't. The famous American world champion Bobby Fischer hated this. He thought opening theory made chess less creative and more about memorization, so he invented Fischer Random, also called Chess 960, where the starting position of pieces is randomized. With 960 possible starting positions, it's impossible to memorize variations, but it's a double-edged sword. Some players fall into silly traps and get checkmated early because they don't recognize the dangers in unfamiliar positions. In short, these are the main points I think should be revised in the Chess 2.0 update. Remove en passant. Count stalemate as a win for the side with legal moves. Don't force pawn promotion. And do something about opening theory.